So for years, I worked as a Democratic operative. Now I'm a broadcaster, and I'm still left leaning on some things. But the whole issue of school choice, I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it at all. And when people would come to me about the school choice argument, I had them on my show. I would typically destroy a lot of them because they weren't as versed on the talking points.
I did not expect going on the show that I was going to meet Dr. Rashad Richey. All I knew was Rashad. This is my guy who, I hang out with from time to time.
Right before the segment started, Rashad goes and puts his hand over the mic and he says these words to me. He said, "Now, Dave, this is not going to be easy for you."
Next thing I know, I got punched in the jaw, figuratively, of course. I look up, and I'm on the floor at this point, picking myself up because Rashad just like gave me a 1-2 punch and stunned me with a question about charter schools and how these schools were a disruptive force harming the traditional public schools.
That was the toughest 15 or 20 minutes on the radio that I'd ever had because Rashad at the time was anti-school choice.
My stance was really of a political bias. I had my stance. I believed what I believed. And if you didn't believe what I believed, get the hell up out of here. That's how I felt about it. And I was strong on my convictions.
After he handed me my head on radio, I could have went and tucked tail and went back and said, "Ooh, this quality schools movement thing is gonna be tough. Don't know if I wanna do that again." I dug in. I picked up the phone later that year and asked him to go on a school tour with us to DC.
So David Mitchell called me one day and he said, "Rashad, I want you to experience what charter schools are like in DC." I'm like, I don't know about that. He called me back, we sent some emails, and I could work it in my schedule. So I went to DC and I had this amazing experience of actually going to charter schools that were publicly funded charter schools in the DC system.
It was a really good ecosystem where you had traditional schools and public charters working well together. As you know, Washington is majority black, so it kind of felt a little bit like Atlanta.
And I went to these charter schools, and you know what I saw? I saw black kids with black male teachers, and it was intentional. I saw teachers wearing dashikis, and it was intentional. I saw HBCU jerseys all over the school, and it was intentional.
And I do believe that Rashad was touched.
And I saw something else. I saw mandated parent participation. I said, whoa, that's a damn game changer, right? And then I saw 100% college acceptance rates. Like, I'm looking at it now from the standpoint of the student. Are some of these charter systems that are publicly funded doing a great job? Hell yeah. And that's when I began to massage my position.
And Rashad grabbed me. He says, "Hey, let's walk over here for a second, Dave. I want to talk to you." So he takes me over and we start talking. And he said, "Dave, this is the most impactful thing I've ever seen. I can't tell you where I stand right now. I've got to think about this awesome school that I saw as the third of 3 that we saw that day in Washington. But Dave, this has been a compelling engagement for me, and it's leaving me with something that I've got to think about."
Here's what I got to say to parents. The choice should be yours, okay? That's all I got to say to parents. Whatever you choose, you should have a choice. It should not be monolithic. You should have options in how your child gets educated. And don't get left behind on the curve because you're sticking to a political talking point. It took a lot for me to massage my position because as a leader, I have to come back and tell a whole lot of people that I changed my mind about something, right? And that's not always easy to do. But as a man and as a leader, you have to make those calls sometimes, especially when you've been exposed to something and you realize that it has worked or it can work for those in your community.